like to be under the sea, in an octopus's garden with you.
In fact, it's probably going to be better under the water than on top of it. Steve Coutts is with the Sydney Underwater Gazette. It's a Facebook page where you can sit in the comfort of your couch and go snorkelling in some of the hot spots around Sydney. Or, you can also look at Sydney Underwater Gazette and go diving where the divers go. That would be fair enough to say, Steve.
It sounds a good idea for a Saturday morning for those people that can't get to the water.
I drove behind someone in traffic with a Viz sticker last night, and let me tell you, they drove very well, but they were heading to one of the key snorkelling spots in Sydney.
The Viz stickers, if you see us, give us a honk.
We'll get into what it's going to be like underwater over in just a minute, but we always think of threatened species above the surface, but not necessarily, unless we're talking whales, beneath the surface of the water.
That's right. The 110 threatened species that were identified under the Threatened Species Action Plan, recently announced by the Honourable Tanya Plibersek MP. A number of those actually include not just underwater animals like, turtles, and then more local to us, things like the white seahorse, the black rock cod, and they also include things like soft corals, like the cauliflower soft coral, but also like the seagrass meadows. Some of the seagrasses are quite threatened as well by pollution and anchoring and things like that. So that's where the white seahorses reside. So that's also threatened.
It's one of the ones where the oyster farmers have been fantastic getting rid of those fixed leases, which allows the sunlight back through to allow seagrass regrowth. And they're already noticing a health in the waterway. The soft corals around La Perouse, I've seen Vicky's photos of them in the Sydney Underwater Gazette.
That's right. Yeah, they're quite a beautiful soft coral, like kind of purples in colours, and very quite ornate. And they're very susceptible to changes in the conditions in the water. And that's kind of what our fear is. We've seen destruction from some of the environmental impacts we've had recently, but also now, we're putting that under threat from the proposed reinstatement of the two public ferry wharves and the associated infrastructure at La Perouse and Kamay National Park.
We'll get into that in a sec, because it's a pretty popular area, isn't it, around La Perouse, particularly for swimmers, snorkelers and divers?
Swimmers, snorkelers, divers. I mean, you only have to go down in the summer, and we have this kind of little catchphrase that when you post a Viz report on our Facebook page, people will put AYL10, and that in summer means people coming saying, "Are you leaving?" So the moment you're stood by your car, all these queues of drivers trying to cram into this little car park area are saying, "Are you leaving? Are you leaving?" We say, "No. People are actually putting cardboard things on. No, I'm not leaving." So
that's why certain people that ride scooters just whiz straight into where they want to go. But we won't gloat at this. Tell me more about the public ferry wharves.
So this is it's a proposal that was to reinstate. This is maybe a little bit before my time, but back in before 1974, there were a couple of small wharves that kind of connected Kamay and La Perouse. They were about 25 meters, old kind of wooden things, but they were destroyed back in the storms in 1974. They're now looking to kind of reinstate those, but reinstatement here is like a 230 meter long, pier. And obviously with such a large construction that's going to have, is going to kind of impact the light that goes there, but also the pollution and the destruction of that habitat, which is, where those species are residing.
And is that just the cauliflower soft coral?
No, that's the seagrass meadows and the white seahorse, etc. So, but it's not just those species either, right? The concerns are that contamination and pollution from doing all that work will affect, the Sydney pygmy pipe horse, the weedy sea dragons, the red Indian fish, which have been really badly impacted by recent, changes, as well as the recently discovered red wide-bodied fish as well, which was over in Canal.
And so the Minister Plibersek, what stage is she at?
So it's currently down to the kind of almost like the casting vote. So it's down to really, her decision to approve this is really going to go quite contra to the Threatened Species Act. I think it's obviously a tough decision for her to do. The balance between commercial projects and the environment. But, with her support behind the Threatened Species project plan, we're hoping that, the protection of these areas is paramount. We need to protect the areas first and then build on, future places for their survival rather than, let's just destroy this one and let's hope we can fix it afterwards, which is probably not the best way to do it.
Be great if there's a compromise, because I know the Indigenous groups around there are hoping that Ferry Wharf will be a fillip for their tourism, which was really strong in the 60s and 70s. So we'll follow that one. If we are going underwater, what is the visibility like for this weekend?
We think Oceanside maybe 5 to 6, Harbourside 3 to 4. Water temps getting back up there, 18 to 19. So almost budgie smuggler weather. Bit of a swell coming in from the northeast. So, like Marco reported last week, potential for blue bottle jellyfish. So be careful if you're using the water, and probably find some protection from that wind and that swell.
Well, you have a good time underwater, Steve Coutts.
Thank you very much, Simon.